Borderlands is the newest RPG FPS hybrid on the market, a trend that is becoming increasingly popular. What separates Borderlands and actually makes it a fairly unique game is its retro-style leveling scale and its focus on weapons. It's basically a blend of any generic first-person shooter, Phantasy Star Online, and World of Warcraft. The concept of the game is solid, and will sound appealing to most. But the question is, does it integrate these aspects of gameplay well? The shooting mechanics are pretty cut and dry. Headshots on humanoid enemies does more damage, you have a regenerating shield as well as a health bar, and you carry around grenades. Borderlands doesn't have any sort of cover system or anything of the sort, but the mechanics work well enough. The developers boast about its hundreds and hundreds of weapons, but in truth it has roughly 7 different weapon types, and every gun falls under one of these typings. What changes between each weapon is mainly statistical, with the occasional scope or bullet type to mix things up. There are 4 different classes to play as, but not a whole lot changes between them. Any class can use any weapon, and besides unique special attacks, the only differences come later in the game in the form of talent trees and class mods, and things of that nature. The Phantasy Star Online aspect comes in the form of 4-player online multiplayer, and the similar parallels of weapon collecting and random generating items of varying rarities. You can play with up to 4 players online, and 2 split screen to work on the same missions and objectives. The story is there, but mainly only an excuse to drive the game to new locations. Weapons and shield upgrades are abundant, and treasures are randomized in each playthrough, making good items drop completely randomly. The game states that playing with more people gives you better items, but in practice I haven't really noticed. The problem with the abundance of new weapons is how frequently you'll have to switch from one gun to the next. As soon as you've grown accustomed to one, you'll be forced to change and use a new one. Literally every 20 to 30 minutes you'll be using something new. You'll spend more time than you should have to just looking at weapon stats and comparing them to your current armory. If you do decide to stick with a favorite weapon, you'll quickly find yourself doing considerably less damage to enemies only a couple levels higher than the ones you were previously fighting. This brings me to another one of my gripes, the game's balancing. It is a serious issue. One minute you'll be dominating a group of enemies, and the next you'll find yourself downed at every corner. Playing alone in some missions is nearly impossible. The game does not stay consistent, and it's very hard to predict when you'll be up for your next challenge. And you have to stick to enemies at your own level. Once you've out-leveled enemies, they start giving ridiculously small amounts of experience. What I don't understand is why enemies don't just give the same amount of experience throughout the whole game. The increase in the amount of experience required to level up could increase substantially enough to encourage fighting tougher enemies, but still allow players to grind more within their own comfort zone if need be. The Warcraft, or most MMOs for that matter, elements come in the quests. Hundreds and hundreds of quests. They're usually fairly stereotypical. Kill a certain number of this, collect a certain number of that, or fetching items for NPCs. It's an understandable mechanic in a game such as this, but it makes playing alone a bit of a drag. Finally, the game's vehicle controls and mechanics are just flat out bad. You'll mainly just use them to get around, but occasionally missions will require you to battle with them, which can be an absolute nightmare. The game has a cool art direction, and every texture is hand-drawn. While it is stylish, it doesn't look all that great. Plus, every environment looks pretty much the same. The game's music is bland and unappealing. Much of it got on my nerves, although the game's intro music is kinda cool. Borderlands basically boils down to sound gameplay vision with poor execution. Although it can bog you down with too much stuff, and the basic gameplay is repetitive, if you look close enough you can see a faint outline of a heart beating strong. If it's successful enough to manage a sequel, the sequel could actually be a really good game. It's unfortunate that a few poor design decisions got in the way of what could have been an awesome title.
for good.